Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to an interview that we are having here through the Vibes Growth Network. Today we have a guest that is Florian Martinon. And before I even get to introduce Florian, would you please introduce yourself, tell a little bit about who you are, where you are coming from, and what your business is about?
Sure. So there would be a lot to say. Let's just say I'm really obsessed with everything that is possible, basically. And I always challenge what people find hard or even impossible. And I just love that. And that's what I do in my business as well with my clients. I'm always challenging what they believe, what they were told, what they are doing, the way they are doing it in a gentle way, because the purpose of this is to get them to question things and explore new or different ways for themselves. So in the end, they get to do what is relevant, aligned with them, and what matches their vision for their life rather than being crushed by external influences and failures due to not being aligned or the feeling of failure. Right? We want to get rid
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it is funny you say like the feeling of failure because like how we feel and the reality of a thing sometimes it's just really not the same thing at all, right? But we have like all this pressure on us and it just like saying no, I'm not good enough, I'm this, I'm that, and people like no, you did a good job. It's like everyone that should be glad. Something like that. That two realities in conflict there, like the one that you live in and the one that people are experiencing from you, right?
Yes. And I know, I have a friend who's he's basically a millionaire, right? Just it doesn't really matter, but I know for some people it might make a difference. But basically, he achieved that, and he's got a big passive income. He doesn't really have to work much, and he had several businesses, and he was back to that very simple point to which he felt like there was still something missing. So he technically had everything, but he didn't achieve success because there was always the feeling of chasing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, at least, failure can feel like this. It can be I achieved something that maybe just a few people that I know or a few people in the world may have achieved, but it doesn't mean anything because it's not what I really feel like doing. It's not really me. It's just something that was brought by an external influence. Like I told you, he's a millionaire, right?
Yeah,
Who cares in the end? Well, people who think that being a millionaire is an achievement will care.
yeah,
But when you reach this big amount of money you could sit on, and there is still something missing, you might not feel successful. That's
yeah,
the point.
yeah. It is true. And in that case, I like that you are framing it in terms of like the difference between what is out there that people are saying this is your goal, this is your objective, and you living and reaching that external objective, but still like as something that is separate from your own objective, your inner thing that sometimes you don't even take the time to know what is it that you want, right? You were mentioned like be successful at doing this given to your objective, but the inner objective of your soul is something that you are still like not aligned with. So my question to you is, how do you, how did you figure out in your business that the this business that you are doing is the thing that aligns with what is it that your true objective is, and how did you separate from what other people are telling you that your objective should be?
Um, it's been a very long journey. So I remember when I was about 14 and I'm almost 33 now. So almost 20 years ago, I was asked, what do you want to do when you'll be older, when you'll be grown up, when you'll be an adult, right? And I remember I didn't have an answer. I really didn't. I was like, well, I will be living my life, right? Doing the things that I love all the time. I didn't see or understand the purpose of this question. I was really like, what is it? But then when I became an adult, I thought, okay, now I have to work. I have to do things. I must do this. I must go this way. Or, I must make a move, take action, whatever this is. And I explored many belief systems. I would call them this way because, well, basically, I think we are all raised in a certain environment that teaches us things which have an
Mm-hmm.
influence. So basically, my influences were go get a job so that you have enough to pay your bills, and that's life, right? That was how
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah,
taught.
pretty much.
I,
Pretty standard.
I, I
Pretty
was
default.
taught, yes, and it was like be kind, um, don't ask for money. Many attitudes and behaviors were taught to me that I just didn't feel aligned with, but I didn't know anything else. So that was, I think, the root of it all. That was this moment when I felt there is something that I don't believe in. I can't buy into. I couldn't buy into the idea that life is just about getting a job and paying your bills. I literally could not.
I hear you. I hear you very much. Yes.
So it started there. And then I just noticed everything that was misaligned with me, even though I didn't have the answers, I think before I was 26 or 27, when I really started this introspection work or introspective work. And then I was trained in emotional intelligence, well, emotional and collective intelligence, neurolinguistic programming, and other tools. And I started experimenting with this on myself, on the world around me, thus challenging more and more and more on myself. And I eliminated everything that didn't seem to work for me or everything that just pulled my energy down. And it's extremely challenging for the people who are not used to say no. So I was taught to always be kind, be nice, be understanding to others, which made me a very shy and passive young man. And then I had to challenge myself. Okay, now I'm going to say no here and there and here and there. I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to ask for a raise. If I don't get it, I'm leaving. Right. And I started shutting doors. And this is basically how I noticed what was right or wrong with me. It was, okay, how do I feel in this situation? How did I get there? Was it really from me? Was it an inner desire? Or was it what I thought I had to do? Right? And I took all this down to the three questions that are in my guide, right? Is it relevant for me to do this? Is it right and aligned with me to do this? And does it match my vision for my life and my business when it's about business, but for my life? If I'm building a business that makes me work 16 hours a day, just to say, hey, maybe in a matter of years, I can build a business that allows me to work only 3 or 4 hours a day. That's silly. Why not start with this? Right? Why not start with building, even though it might take 16 hours a day, if I'm working towards that goal of creating a business that makes me work a lot, and in the meantime, that's not what I want, then I need to ask myself, okay, is it relevant for me to work 16 hours a day now? Because
Yeah.
right now it might be. And right now I might not even bother thinking, oh, I'm working too much because I'm in my flow, right? It might be relevant and aligned with me for a while, just time for me to set things up and then let go of them. But well, maybe I'm
Yes.
digressing a little.
No, 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 yeah, what I'm hearing from your answer, it is like it came from a place of understanding the environment and to see all these requirements and expectations and the pressures and the this and that, and then you like distilling, like taking the moment to really understanding how these things made you feel. So it's more like it's a combination of like what is it, that expectation that people have from you and the expectation that you have from yourself, and to see where these things align, right? And you're coming up with this different like uh, framework, right, to help you decide, because otherwise there is so much noise. So if you don't have that screen that to filter what is it that is really for you, then you just you are not taking the moment to know like what is it that I want, how does that work for me, what how does that otherwise you'll be just living by what other people want from you, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then how with time have you got to this understanding? How did you learn, like, got to the point of understanding, like, okay, so if that is the case, and if I have the power, how would I be able to, like, to develop these skills and be able to start someone that really understands this topic and so on? How did you go to finding that alignment to actually, like, building that fortitude in your beliefs, like in the way that you see life?
I think it's a matter of question, right? So I have, from as far as I can remember, I have been questioning things, situations, people's behavior, people's way of thinking, systems, processes, politics as well. It's like, so when people ask me, who do you vote for? Who are you supporting? I'm like, none of these people are ones who resonate with me. And I think the word here is resonate. So there is
Hmm.
resonance or there isn't. And some agree, some disagree, some tell me you should do this or that or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care about the opinions. I'm like, no, I have ideas of other systems that are either to be built or they are here but not used for this purpose yet,
Hmm.
etc., etc. But that's basically the thing. It's like, okay, I'm noticing. Well, so resonance might be very advanced somehow. I would say it's very advanced because it took me literally over a decade to get to the point when I know this resonates and this doesn't. But the
Hmm.
tools I have learned really allowed me to experiment and know. So let's say, for instance, I'm feeling in an emotional struggle. I can use tapping, and I have a very specific technique that I didn't see anywhere else either. Um, and it is very efficient and effective. It's like I do it, and in the next 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is nothing compared to the hours and days we can spend
Yeah.
struggling with an emotion. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, in a matter of 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, back to myself. And now what? What is relevant for me to do now? And sometimes the answer is nothing. It's just
Hmm.
resonance, right? It's, as I say, I think it's a lifestyle more than anything else, more than just, okay, let me try it. I tried it, it worked for me. And then I said, okay, how can I refine it? How can I make it even easier? How can I make it accessible? Hence my three questions. But even in the guide I wrote, I'm telling the reader, I'm saying, practice. So I can't remember the exact words, but that's the
Yeah.
idea is practice because it might not happen immediately. And I have many exercises about this. How do I get the answers from my mind within my body or from my body within my mind? Because it's connected. And how do I get the answers from my soul or my intuition in my body, in my mind? How do I connect all these dots together? Because sometimes, and I love saying that, it's sometimes the universe just doesn't care. I might do this, I might do that. Sometimes the universe doesn't care. And sometimes it's
Yes.
like, if you go this way, it might be harder. If you go this way, it might be easier. And then I get to choose. And then the example I have is, I think it happened to you, it happened to everybody. You are about to leave your home and you think of taking your umbrella. And you look at the sky and it's bright blue. sunny, and you go out, you're like, "But I don't need the umbrella. Let's just leave it here." And you go out, and things happen. Rain pours down on you. You get soaking wet. You get back home, and you say, "Maybe I should have taken the umbrella." So
Yes.
sometimes there is no apparent reason to this, but it's really a matter of experience and noticing. And I think it takes a lot of awareness. And part of my job is also to notice when someone is resisting themselves, or when they are lying to themselves, or when they are seeing something like very clear. Like we talked about the imposter syndrome last
Yeah.
week, right? And it's very clear. It's an imposter syndrome. What's an imposter? It's someone who pretends to be someone they are not. What do you do with that? Well, stop pretending.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just be
there's nothing to
yourself.
fix.
Yeah.
Yes, you are exactly at the right place at the right time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And just like without realizing it when we were having that conversation, that somehow went deeper into my subconscious, and it really, helped to shake something there, some things there that I didn't notice in the time that we were talking, but throughout the weekend, I could see the influence of reframing, right? The imposter syndrome and shaping that, and that's cool. And I also like what you said. I'm also very big at like at understanding. Like I like it how people like segment and they kind of add frameworks and strategy into a box, and then they name something, and then they say, here's the technique called this, and then learning these different techniques, and then making something different that works for me on what feels good for me, and then renaming that. And with time, being someone that loves frameworks, I started seeing that a lot of them are the same thing, repackaged, rename, just like add another item, remove something, and call it something different. I'm like, yes, because it's like a lot of the human experience the same, right? So people they're just coming from different backgrounds, making something different that works for them. And with time, as we learn new things, then we are allowed to be creative and make one that works for us. Because are who is anyone to say, this is my thing, I own this way of living life. Like it's all about the learning and the synthesizing, right? And make it work for you.
Yes, it's like calling a hammer nut breakers because you break nuts with it, right? A hammer is a hammer. It's a tool. You can use it in many different ways. You can crack nuts with it, indeed.
Yeah.
You can make a hole in your wall. You can make many things. Well, do many things with a hammer. And in the end, it's still a hammer. But for some people who are looking the amazing tool that can break nuts, what they want is the nutbreaker, not a hammer, right? Somehow
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
it's a matter of resonance as well. Somehow,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And then as you navigated this space of understanding what is it that you love, and understanding like the skill set that you need to be able to have ways to work around it, how did you find the like how you could turn that into value based on what other people are wanting to pay, are willing to pay, right? How do you make it as something that is like, um, helping people cross bridges? What bridges do you help people cross?
it's a matter, I think, of shutting doors here. So the very first, let's call this personal development or consciousness uh, rising that I used was, is this really what I want?
Hmm.
And The simple fact that I asked myself this question meant no, right? I would never question anything if I were okay with that. Let's say I have a relationship with someone and I get to ask myself, is it really what I want? Then probably there is something I need to shift, adapt, calibrate, or change, transform in that relationship, or I need to let go of it. And what I notice is that the people with whom I work either want something, and as you said earlier today, they feel chained. Like I feel there is more, I feel there is something else, but like I'm still held back by something. And my very first client as a coach helped me see that, because she was a manager and she wanted to hire someone with whom she resonated, but she kept stumbling upon people who would just take over her, and she would be feeling low and bad, and everything we can imagine for a manager who's being walked over. And she mentioned that. And even before we started, I told her, okay, let's go this way, gave her a tool. And the next, well, literally the next week, but it was just 2 days later, she told me, okay, I'm done. I fired this employee. Let's get another one. And after we started working together, it took less than a week for her to find a girl with whom it matched, and she could work with that girl forever. So that's one thing. I think it's really that I feel there is something holding me back. There's something I'm not totally getting yet. Um, yeah, there is this. Or at another level of consciousness or awareness, there's the idea of not allowing something. There is this idea that says, I really want to go this way, but blah, blah, blah. And blah, blah, blah means
Yeah,
they are
but
giving
right,
themselves,
like
yes,
excuses, yes, like whatever is, but
exactly.
yeah,
And they are not allowing themselves to do this. Uh, so my work there is to facilitate basically their transition. And I could say that in many different ways, but the idea is really that it's facilitating transformation or change. I'm not exactly responsible for this. It's not my decision. It's always theirs. And even when I give a suggestion, I'm like, I could be wrong, but from what you tell me, I see this, I think that, and maybe you could do this. And they still have the choice because I'm telling them I could be wrong. Right? So that's really it. I think it's making it smooth, making it easy, and making it even fun and cool and miraculous, basically. I think that's the word. It's miraculous. Sometimes, like I think 3 years ago, I had a client who struggled with financial abundance. And we had that very nice, cool conversation. Basically, she paid me $100 to get through this. And what she told me was, um, I do not know who I have to be in order to receive more money in my life. So she wanted that change. She wanted to release something. She wanted that transition from, I'm, I have this on my mind to it's gone from my mind. And I told her, did you know that mercenaries, so black markets, mercenaries, killers, uh, kid kidnappers, and people who sell women, and all of these people make much more money than you and I will ever make with a legal business, right? So who do you think you have to be in order to receive more money in your life, right? That's not. And then the idea of being unworthy was gone, because it's we all have these silly ideas. Who do I have to be? What do I have to do? What is it that I am not or I don't have that I should have, be, do, whatever? Um, and I just come from a standpoint of we have everything all the time, and it's just tap into this, allow it, let it come out. Right? And it's fine that we don't yet, because the mind is really the mind is an incredible tool and I love it. And in the meantime, it's screwing us up. So it's like, oh, this is painful. So let's avoid it. But in the meantime, I need to deal with it. Otherwise, it keeps being painful. But because it's painful, I'm getting away from it. And you know that vicious circle goes
Yeah.
around and around. So yeah, I would say this. It's really about allowing them to take the step towards what they want, reassuring them, helping them get perspective on that, and also really, yeah, I think tapping into that inner power that comes from an inner desire rather than external influence.
Mhm. So would you say like in an analogy of crossing bridges, if you were, let's say, in your bike, in your motorcycle, beside your client, also the motorcycle, and then you are seeing the client, like the client is saying, "Hey, there's a bridge that is there that no, I want that outcome, but I'm not being able to maybe even like recognize the bridge." So your job is to like make them see what the bridge is made out of, see the other side of the bridge, make them recognize that there is a distance, and really be okay with the fact of understanding the bridge, crossing it, getting there, and giving them that fuel to get to the other side.
Or ask them, do you really want to go there with a motorbike? That's the whole thing. I can look at the bridge and so I do look at the bridge, right? So if someone
Hmm.
tells me I want to have more clients or I want to have more financial abundance, for instance, I have to look at this as well. I can't just say, okay, forget about financial abundance. No, if you want to cross the bridge to get there, we need to look at the bridge that you see by now. And the
Hmm.
one my client saw at the moment was I need to be someone else, right?
Hmm.
So I looked at the bridge. Your bridge is I become someone else so that I get more financial abundance. My vision of your bridge is there is another one you could use that most of the bad guys use and they make more money. So if you want financial abundance, why take this one? Why be someone else?
Hmm.
Or if you really want more money, why not, I don't know, become a hacker? Why not, for instance?
Yeah.
You'd make much more money. You could, in one contract, you could pay your bills for the year. Well, wouldn't that be easier? So I look at the bridge indeed and what it's made of, and it's made of thoughts. And I look at the person and then I say, cool, so now you know you have this option to be the bad guy and you would make much more money. But now the vehicle you are in is the good guy vehicle. So do you want to be in the good guy vehicle and look at the bridge and say, I can cross this bridge. I have the right to. It's okay. It's fine. I'm allowing myself to do this.
Yeah.
Or are you changing vehicle and saying, okay, this motorbike is too nice, too cool, too kind, and I want to be the bad guy, which, by the way, is fine. I admire the people who dare being the bad guys and getting out of legal markets because I wouldn't do it. So I
Hmm.
admire that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Admiration is a strong word, I would say, but I hear you.
No, really, I'm like, I could never do that. How can they? How were they raised so that
Yeah.
they find it's normal to do this while I cannot even steal some chocolate from the grocery store?
Yeah, I see. I see what you mean. Yes. Okay, okay. That's cool. I like how you reframe it in a way that is enlightening. So that's very cool. It shows um, creativity, and the ability to see things, and I really like that. Um, and then as you kept working in these spaces and helping people recognize the bridges and the bikes and the options and the other side, right? How did you notice that this is something that the world needs, you know. It's like, how do you reconcile this one aspect of like one person with the big picture of what is it that society needs, the world is looking for? It's like how you are adding to that aspect of like the big picture of things.
So just to make sure I understand your question, it's how do I position my work in the evolution of the world, right? In how the
It,
world goes.
yes, in how you
Okay.
are helping the world to be a better place for the people that are experiencing the world, of course, but also to the, because it's like if I work with business owners, they are also influencers, right? They're also managing other people, and that alone cascades, right? So it becomes a domino effect that you are starting right there.
Well, so the world is made of people, right?
Yes.
And we all know somehow that we are influenced by others, which means we are also influencing others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's more of my personal experience, but I saw it with other people. So, in my experience, when I changed, even my parents changed without me having to tell them, hey, try this, try that, do this personal development thing, whatever this is, right? It's just me changing myself. And by some magic trick of the universe, the people around me gets to synchronize with me. And I think we all tend to synchronize with the highest vibration possible. Mm, I don't think anybody likes to feel low, lower, inferior. And we all want to raise that level of
Yeah.
energy
As within, so without.
and what? Sorry.
As within, so
Oh
without.
yeah, yes, yes, yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Yes.
That's exactly it's exactly it. It's what's happening within me happens around me as well. Or
Yes.
maybe the opposite. So when I notice something I like outside, I'm also reminding myself that I have this within me and I can use it if I want to. And when I see something I hate around me, I'm like, okay, I hate this so much. So what is it with, what does it have to do with me? Is it something I did and I'm ashamed or feeling guilty about, whatever? Or is it something I am not allowing myself to do? It happens to me when I drive. You know, I'm driving and I'm like, oh, they did someone around me does something I hate, and I'm like, you asshole. And in the meantime, I'm reminding myself, yeah, sometimes I am the asshole. I am the one
Hmm.
doing these things as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and and so I think this is the influence that my work has on the world. It's one person can change many person around themselves. And I don't have to change everybody in the world to change the whole world. When enough of us raise that plateau level of we're done with old habits, we're done with old ways of doing personal development, we are done with rejecting ourselves, for instance, and we allow ourselves, we're like, I want to allow myself to do more things, or test this, or test that, or be the bad guy, whatever. I want to allow myself to have this experience. And there will be a moment, and I think it's already happened or almost, but there is that moment when it's like, we're not going back. So you would not, well, you would hardly imagine people telling you, or the government telling you, we are now forbidding abortion and having nobody react. When 2 or 3 centuries ago, abortion was not even something they imagined. It
Hmm.
was like, if you are pregnant, you're going to have a kid, that's it.
Hmm.
Then so there's no going back at some point. There are things. Abortion might be a tricky topic, right? But it's really that moment when no, it's become the norm. And when enough people will have a norm of I'm allowing myself to live my life. If you don't like it, you don't have to be here around me. You can
Mm-hmm.
leave and it's fine. I still love you. I don't care what you do with your life. Enjoy it. That's just the best I wish for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the world changes.
Yeah. And it is really like a matter of understanding that everybody has a different perspective based on this is a journey, right? Everybody's coming from somewhere. Everybody's influenced by the family, the neighborhood, right? The media that they listen to. And if it's like in this path, you find someone, right? It's more like you are two there in your bikes, and then you meet someone, and then you get to understand their opinion, this perspective, the vision that they have of the world. And when you're talking, there's no alignment, or there's just like alignment in one section but not in the other. That is what the experience of the journey is, right? It is just an understanding. And then when you find something that makes sense to keep discussing because there is growth, right? There is value in keeping that relationship, amazing. But if there isn't any, the same way that you started from different paths and then you meet, you can go different path, and it is okay. Nobody has to stay in your life. Nobody is entitled to your time, to your reasoning, right? And to change your mind, like colonizing your mindset, right? It's like just act from a place of understanding and be okay with people that the way they are. And maybe if you can just give a word of like, here's another perspective, and let people go. And I find that like a lot of the this aspect of like having a social life, right? And talking to people, it is really that. Many people see the view, where they're coming from, where they're going. With time, you see people that align, and then you make a little crew, It's like now you have the people that you can have a conversation of an understanding. And that's a choice that you make, right? The people that stay in your life, like sometimes you don't decide the people that show up in your life, but the people that stay, we have a say a little bit, and that's like family and stuff, right? But even then, right, a lot of the cases, people divorce from the family because it's like, yes, I get that I was born here, but this is toxic, and people just divorce, and they build a family for themselves, right? The family is like they make a family. They don't participate. And these are all
Yeah.
choices that we have to make in our journey, and we have to own our journey in order to be able to realize that.
Yes. And amongst everything you said, so I wrote that down because it's one thing my mentor in emotional intelligence would tell me maybe 3 or 4 times during the training. But he told me we can learn to agree that we disagree. And a lot of people get confused. They believe that accepting means agreeing. So we talked about bad guys today. The fact that I admire how they can do what they do doesn't mean I agree with it.
Yes.
It exists. I can't help it by myself. It's not me alone who's going to snap my fingers and have the whole bad guys people leave the planet somehow, right?
Yes.
This is not going to happen. So there's a part of me, and I'm a dad, right? So I can easily relate to many of the things we can be afraid of when it comes to kids. It's like, well, I'm afraid that my kid is unhappy at school, is being bullied, is being mistreated, is being insulted, is being whatever things, or maybe kidnapped. I could expand on all the fears we could have. But it doesn't mean I agree with people who kidnap kids. But well, think of it. If you had to create a business in which you kidnap kids, how would you do that? I can't even think of that
Mm-hmm.
because the ways that I would be caught are they are there are so many of them. I can't even think of them all. So I'm scared that I would get caught anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't agree with this. I wouldn't do this. I don't even get the point. I don't get the point of stealing chocolate. Maybe if you just gently ask, you might get your chocolate from the grocery store and you wouldn't even have to pay. I don't know, because the possibilities are infinite. It's so amazing to have diversity. And if possibilities were just extremely limited, which was the case millions of years ago, right? We would not enjoy as many things as we can enjoy today, and we would not fear as many things that as we can fear today. So the variety of experiences is incredibly vast, and I love seeing both common grounds. You and I are humans. Maybe we would not agree on how to raise a kid, but we
Hmm.
agree on many other things, and we have the same needs, we have the same desires somehow. Um, we share many things, right? And we have differences as well. And I love your Italian accents, for instance. I don't
Yeah.
have that, right? I enjoy this difference. And does it mean that I agree with it? I don't know. There is not even a point in discussing that. Do I agree with the Italian accent in English? Who
Hmm.
cares? That would
Yeah.
be a great topic, but
Yeah.
who cares? And I tend to go this way and say, oh, well, I could agree on the fact that, let's say, French people should stay with French people, or I could disagree with that. The fact is, some people are racist and they will want to stay with white French, maybe Freemasons people. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I can say I disagree. I love the variety of experiences and just let them be. Because, anyways, I found that there is no change that is as powerful as the one that comes from within.
Hmm.
If I'm coming with my point of view and I'm trying to force it into someone, it doesn't work. If I am interested and I ask many questions, at some point, I might get to one, understand someone else's background, so be part of their world. And when I am part of it, then I can start questioning their world differently. So the first step is curiosity. The second step is, can we challenge this? Can we? So is there a challenge in this that we can use? Okay, so you think this? When did it start? Who taught you that? Is it true all the time with everybody in the world? And if not, then why? Tell me more about how you think. And then they learn about how they think, and then they get freedom. And because they have the freedom and they can choose, people will always choose the best option for themselves. So if I can help them raise that level of awareness about who they are, how they learn to be who they are, and so on, then they can get the option and they don't even have to change. And I can still say, well, now, shall we keep seeing each other or just go separate ways? And I did that with my last ex-girlfriend, who was basically a narcissistic person.
Hmm.
And I'm talking from a clinical perspective, right? And so I'm not just saying, oh, she was bad to me, so she was a narcissistic. She was literally incapable of recognizing any kind of mistake or responsibility she had in something. She would be lies around this, and she would try to trigger me every single time I tried to have a sane, healthy conversation. She would try to trigger me and use this because she didn't know how to do otherwise than by having power and emotions. Well, when you can manipulate emotions, well, you have power.
Yes.
But basically, she was that, and
Politicians are great at it.
they are amazing at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't love. I disagree with what most of them do, but well, it's just amazing again,
Yeah.
and that's just it. And I went my way rather than staying with my ex, without giving her any other explanation. But it doesn't feel right and aligned with me to keep this relationship going with you, which
Hmm.
just pissed her off so much that she beat me up. And the thing is, I could not strike back because if I had done that, then she would have had more arguments to attack me. So she would have legal arguments, right? She could just sue me and so on. So at some points, like I highly disagree with what she did. By the way, she stole some of my stuff. Like this experience was horrible, and I disagree with her behavior. Yet I had to accept it. I was like, okay, that's her behavior. Now, what do I do with mine? Right. So we can agree on disagreeing with others. And it's as easy as saying, okay, it seems like we have a disagreement here. Right, correct, or do we not? And the other person would like to know, yes, we do. No, we don't. Or try to make our thoughts match each other.
Yeah.
Or they would try
That's
to
that's
influence you and you could
that's a
still say
lot
no
of
thanks.
mental fortitude there. That's a lot
Yeah.
of strength there. I was like, not reacting to this type of situation requires this strength. It's funny because like sometimes people say like strength is reacting, it's like to the level of what is happening, right? I'm strong, I can give you back in the same coin. But it's like, and then you go like the real strength is to stay true to yourself and your values and accepting and then being just like I'm not letting that interfere with who I am, and I'm going to act from a place of dignity and how I think that where I want things to go. And I'm not giving you my peace. I'm not giving you my energy. The strength that requires to get that stage.
Yes, and at some point to be able to say my values don't matter now. Like this
Hmm.
is very important. At some point when I had this argument with my ex-girlfriend, at some point I had to I had to let go, really. And I was
Hmm.
like, what does she want? So how do I get out of the situation that seems impossible to get out of? And I had to let her do her stuff and win the fight, basically. And winning
Hmm.
the fight went through her strangling me and me showing submission. So I was like, she was strangling me, and I was like you win, right? You win,
Yeah.
and let her win. And at this exact moment, all of my values and my dignity, everything was blown up, right? At this exact moment. In the meantime, when she let go of me, well, my brain was screaming. It was screaming, kill her, because she was literally a danger to my life.
Yeah.
And this required a lot of fortitude there
I
to
can
think.
imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But that,
That the human animal piece, right? You're just like, no, you are threat to me. I can't, it's like my survival. That's survival instinct, right?
yes. And at some point, it's really tough to be able to say, I'm both totally, I'm a carpet, basically. So I'm like, there's nothing left on me except something you would work on. And in the meantime, there is that very powerful moment when I felt if she thought she won, then I won. And if I won, congratulations. So that moment when my whole brain, my whole body were screaming, kill her. I was like, okay, that one's a tough one. But think of what comes afterward. So if I'm winning now, I'm winning. By losing, I was winning.
Hmm.
And it was, yeah, indeed. It's very hard to when we are in this moment, it can be extremely challenging to think, extremely challenging. Yet the brain is incredible. It can think as fast as we can imagine an object could move. The thought is even faster, right? So I think it's probably going at the same speed as light
Hmm.
because I can live a full life of misery and a full life of wealth and richness and happiness at exactly the same second, just by assessing or questioning a decision. So the decision in that case was, do I have the possibility and the capability and the strength. I could kill her and yes, maybe relieve the world of a burden somehow. Okay. But my life after this would be a nightmare. In the meantime, I couldn't choose to totally destroy myself and say, okay, let's blow up that identity. Let's blow up that very strong, powerful Florian, and let's be that piece of shit that no one wants to even touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
thing. And when I chose to destroy myself, now I said, okay, let her win, let her strangle you if that's what counts. Just show that you're nothing, show that she won.
Play her game.
Play her game and let her win. And I was after this, I was almost nothing, um, and I rebuilt myself. And yes, that it's that idea that at the same moment I could have either gone the wrong way, the one that would make my life miserable, and that wasn't matching my vision of my life, right, for my life. So I didn't do it. Is this really what I want? No. Okay, let her win, let her strangle you, let her take your stuff, let her do whatever she wants because soon she'll be gone.
Mm-hmm.
What I want, or what I wanted at this moment was absolutely not this kind of relationship. And the beauty is that when I totally shut the door to every kind of toxic relationship, including the one from myself to myself,
Mm-hmm.
when I accepted that I could disagree with people, and yes, you could make them very violent, very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
brutal and violent. When I accepted all of this, I transformed myself. I I built a better life. And 2 months later, I met the woman who's now my wife in miraculous conditions, meaning I could never ever have imagined it would happen this way. If you saw it
Mm-hmm.
in a movie, you would think it's a normal story.
Mm-hmm.
But considering all the things I had gone through, considering all the hard decisions I had made, and considering it was pure luck somehow. There
Mm-hmm.
is no luck in life, but it's like this moment when I couldn't have figured this one out. That's the beauty of the moment when we say, okay, I disagree with this. Let's not get closer to it. Let's leave it behind me. Let's not even explain and just be like, doesn't feel right and aligned with me anymore. And if you can't get it, I get it. I get it when people tell me, okay, but what do you mean by that? Explain things to me. Sometimes I can. Sometimes all I have to say is, I don't have the answers.
Okay.
The universe
So
does. I don't.
yeah. So the bottom line of this entire. By the way, thanks for sharing that. It is very nice, and the way that you like give a great example of really like under such difficult external situation, right? You are there deciding that it's like I'm going to act for the future that I want. It is not about the present, it's not about the past. I'm acting for the future. And then keeping that in mind, right? It's all about where I'm going and where I want to go, right? And it's because it is your life, it is your journey. So you're taking ownership and not letting people and the situation, circumstances decide for you where is it that you should be doing, and not letting your emotions take over. And the any circumstance, take a moment to really like, what do I want from here? What am I learning from this? Right? And that's beautiful. What is as we wrap up here, what is one message that you would like to share with the world, and that you wish everyone would know more, and it's like a lesson for everyone's journey, right? Because everyone that is will be watching this video is on their own journey, and then what would you like them to know as they ride this path of ups and downs and bridges and people that they meet and so on?
I'm writing it down because I think it's important.
I can see
Mhm.
that this interview is giving you a lot, not this conversation is giving you a lot to think about. I see just taking all the notes over there. That's good.
Yes.
I'm glad that
Yes.
you're taking this thing. Yeah, out of you.
Uh, well, yes, it's exactly it. So it's really the one thing, if anything at all, people would get from this conversation, and I hope from me and the work I do in my life, is do not let anyone make you believe that what you want, you don't deserve it, and that what you want, you cannot get it. And there are plenty of examples of people in the world who achieved things or they dreamt about things, right? And everybody around told them that's impossible. And 10 years later, they do it because the technology has evolved, the mentalities have evolved. So you really don't let anyone make you believe, make you think that you don't have the right to live the life that you want the way that you want.
Mm, beautiful. Amazing. Yes. Okay. So thanks for sharing that. And Florian, if people want to know more about you, maybe have a conversation, maybe know a little bit more about your strategies and techniques, how can people find you?
You can easily find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, or on Substack. I'm active there too. And I think these are the two main ways to find me online.
Okay.
Except if you
Yes.
want to send me a physical letter, then I have to give you my address.
Yeah, yeah. I'll make sure to add your link to the description so people can find you. And then, yeah, sounds amazing. So thank you very much, Florian. It was an absolute pleasure. And then I will see you in I'll see you. We'll see each other soon.
Yes, thank you for your insightful questions, Claudio. And yes, this was a great conversation. Thank you for allowing it and creating it.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. Thank you very much. Talk soon. Cheers. Bye.